Hi, welcome back to my vlog. I'm camping and I'm hot, but today I'm going to be reading One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune. I'm only like 3% in, and this is my view for reading right now. Not too bad. There's a lot of pollen in the water, but if you just get past this part, it's very shallow and you can kind of swim around there. So that's kind of my game plan, to read, get warm, and then take a dip. My friends are all canoeing, but that's far too much adventure for a camping trip for me. I prefer to eat and sit, so these rosy cheeks need to chill out. On the first day of the trip, I got to about 50% of the book and I was loving it. I cried again, more so in the second half of the book, which I read on our second day of the trip. And it got a little rainy on our last day with some pretty high winds. And so I finished the book off on the third day by the fire. And we kind of made this like tarp situation, which you can see here, that helped us stay dry and still kind of enjoy being outside. And the rain went away, so we were able to play some games and have a fire that night. So, all in all, it was honestly a really great trip. I made it back home and I really had a great time on the trip. It was so much fun, but having a shower and a bed, pretty awesome. Obviously, I finished One Golden Summer camping. I really liked it. I rated it 4. I think I rated it 4 because I had rated Every Summer After 4.5 and I just felt like it was a bit better. Not the writing, but more so I think I just liked the romance in the first book better. It was a little less, sorry, my car's dinging. I'm waiting for Michelle. I'll explain that in a sec. I didn't find the writing to be any different or like worse or better. They were both like on par. That part was great. It was just the romance that I liked better in the first book compared to the second book. There were some parts about it in the second book, One Golden Summer, where when you kind of just like logically think about it for 2 seconds, you're like, oh, like they could have just, talked about it, or like he could have just, why was he keeping that a secret? Just little goofy things that like I don't think necessarily in the real world would be how that worked. Obviously, I could be wrong, but just those little things. So basically, I realized I never really kind of told you what it was about. One Golden Summer is about, gosh, I forget her name, but the main character, she works in Toronto, classic, and she's a photographer, and her grandmother falls, I think, and like hurts her hip or needs some sort of surgery that kind of puts her down and out for a little bit, and it's really impacted her grandmother's mood. And she remembers when she was 17, she and her grandmother spent 2 months on Kaministkeg Lake in Barry's Bay. And so the main character is feeling kind of like uninspired and just like maybe almost like she's selling out in her work. She's a photographer. So she kind of feels like she needs to shake up her life. She wants to like, bring this joy back to her grandmother's life. So she's like, okay, why don't we go back to Kaministkeg Lake? And so she does, and she got into photography in Barry's Bay and took a picture of the 3 main characters from book 1. And of course, Charlie, which is the older brother from book 1, is kind of like their handyman who sets up the cottage because he's friends with the owner. And she has like flirty kind of text messages. And then they have like a meet cute in the grocery store. And they end up like forming like quite the friendship, learning about a lot from each other. And she's thinking, okay, I want to kind of have like a do-over and like live like I'm 17 for a summer. And she makes like a little bucket list. It's pretty cute, and it just kind of goes from there. And I don't want to like ruin the book, so I'm not going to say much more, but it's a cute romance. There's definitely like great parts about it, but I've had my book club discussion since. So like when you hear other people's opinions and they go like, oh, that was like, a bit cheesy or unrealistic, your view changes a little. But like I'm sticking with my initial score of 4, And I did really like it. And like where I read it was the perfect location. Like the vibes were 10 out of 10 and I was really into it. Like I was reading that book for like chunks of time. So why I'm in my car now is because I am doing 24 hours in Toronto for Stray Kids with Michelle. So I'm picking her up right now. We are going to hop on a train, go to Toronto, and just have a fun 24 hours and go to a Stray Kids concert. I've always wanted to go to a K-pop concert. So Michelle really likes Stray Kids and I don't mind their music. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. So we're doing that. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm going to text her that I'm in her parking lot and we're going to get the adventure started. And on the train, I am reading my next book, which is Unrest by Gwen Tuinman. I have to maybe watch her say her last name on a video or something. And that is about Ottawa, which is where I am right now ish. This is technically a PN, but it's all incorporated in the amalgamation. So we're fine. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm about 100 pages in and I'll let you know what that book's about further on, but that's my read for the train and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's fun. Well, it's like, it's not silly goofy, but I am enjoying the vibes as best I can. So I have a bit of a montage for you guys. So we took the train, it was lovely. And we went for like a nice lunch, not pictured. I found funnel cake, which is always exciting for me. 2 spoons, no freaking way, not sharing. We had decent seats. They were really far away. The venue was really big, like it holds 50,000 people. So the stage was like further away than I would have thought, but it was really fun. I went in with my bias being Bang Chan and I left a Felix girly, like don't know what came over me. So it was really, really fun. And then it was such a quick trip. We were back on the train, headed home, and then it was Canada Day. So Matt and I went to downtown of our little town and we went to the museum, which we'd never been to, kind of learned about the history of our empire. And turns out, not a big shocker because it's the Ottawa Valley, that it also has a history in like lumber milling, which brings me to Unrest. This book is about, as I mentioned, Ottawa Bytown in 1836, and it's about a family living on the outskirts of Bytown in Corktown, and basically just along the Ottawa Canal in kind of like a cabin, and it is like basically a family drama. There's 5 POVs, I want to say. So we have what I like to call like what I would call the main character, Mariah, and she has a sister named Biddy who is married to Seamus, and Seamus and Mariah had a child. They all were in Ireland. Mariah got pregnant with Seamus, but Seamus and Biddy were engaged. So they go to Canada and kind of start there. And then they have Thomas, who is the son of Mariah and Seamus. And so Thomas is older. Obviously, he's like 18, I believe, and he works as an apprentice blacksmith, but he's also trying to make a name for himself and just kind of, do better. Like he wants a better life for himself than just being like a lumber person or lumberman, because it's all men, like his father is. So he wants to do better. His dream is to own his own smithy, and he really just can't stand for the intolerance or racism towards Irish people. So Thomas is really interesting. I really like Mariah and Thomas the best so far. There is a 5th POV. Who is it? Okay, maybe I'm lying and there's only 4 POVs. I don't know why I said 5. Those are the POVs I've met so far. And Seamus and Biddy have, I want to say 2 more daughters, but maybe 3. But they have all daughters. And the oldest of their daughters is pretty ruthless and rude, just like Biddy is, because Biddy obviously holds a grudge that like her sister slept with her husband, had a kid, like a bastard son. Thomas doesn't know any of this. And Mariah really wants to tell him and kind of like get out from under her sister, because their parents said before they left for Canada, asked Biddy to make sure they took care of Mariah. And so Biddy does this very begrudgingly and kind of is like, well, I've given you a roof. Like, that's all mom and dad wanted me to do. And so, like, life for Mariah is not easy. She's not treated well. She watches her son, but has to act like an aunt. So it's all very hard and tragic for her, and you feel for her. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning a ton about, like, my city that I didn't know about. I'm really enjoying that aspect, as well as the, like, family drama aspect. I finished Unrest finally. I don't have the book with me anymore because I'm lending it to my dad. He was really interested when I was telling him that I was reading a book about like Ottawa. And I honestly loved this book so much. I ended up rating it 5 and I put it through Cawpile, which also resulted in 5. Like I just wanted to, my initial instinct, vibe was a 5-star book, but then I wanted to double check. Sorry if you heard Freya. I wanted to double check that like I also putting it into that criteria was legit a 5-star read. And it was. So that was awesome. Some things that I really loved about this book were the characters. Pretty instantly, I like really cared about all of the characters and I had strong opinions. Some of them weren't positive, but I still had like a strong opinion about everyone. And what was also really nice was that my opinions of characters changed. So someone that I was like thinking was meek and kind of tragic ended up being very strong. And someone that I liked at the beginning, where I admired their pluck, I thought that they were kind of toxic and selfish. And then Seamus, I'm like, because I'm kind of being vague about other people, but Seamus, like I had a full 180 on him, because at first I thought he was like a creepy kind of predator. And in the end, like he ended up being one of the characters I didn't mind I didn't mind, and I enjoyed reading about him. But then even at the end, you still see him in a different light. So I don't know. It was just like I really felt like all the characters were really well rounded, and you could get a good sense of who they were and the motivation behind the actions that they were doing. Another reason I think I enjoyed this book so much was just that it was in Ottawa, and it was really cool to read about places that like I know really well, like not even just from like seeing on a map, but from actually being there. Like for example, on the day that I finished the book, I went to the river that is like mentioned. Like I happened to just go fishing that day, and it was on the Bonachère River, and she talks about like walking through Bonachère. I don't know if she was on the river, but like she was in that general area. And like same with like Horton. Like I was in Horton that day. I just drove through, and that was like part of my plans. So that was really fun for me to put the places in real life in the book, but then also the book places in my real life. Like I was like, oh, I was here today already. I also really enjoyed the writing in this book. It was very descriptive, but not in a like, oh my gosh, why are you explaining 3 pages worth of text to tell me about a color? It was more like so much was written and you were learning so much so quickly, but it never felt bogged down in descriptions. Like I felt in the first like 5 pages, I knew so much about the characters and the world already, and I was only 5 pages in. And there's like a lot of text on each page. So I really liked, I don't know what kind of writing style it is or whatever, but I felt it was really well done because you get so much and you can picture everything super well, but never once was I like, you know, when you kind of want to skip a few paragraphs because you're like, okay, I get it. They're in a bar, you know? So yeah, if you like character driven historical fictions, I would highly recommend this book. I don't know much about this author. I know they're from kind of in the general area of where I am, but I want to check out and see if they have more books because I really enjoyed the writing style, and also just you can tell that a lot of research went into everything. So I enjoyed just like not only the story, but learning. And it just like so happened that I learned about my city, which honestly was part of the reason I even found this book, is because I was looking for historical fiction set in Ottawa because I wanted to learn more about that time period. So, all that to say, I also buddy read with one of my friends, and she also like gave it pretty great reviews. And because we enjoyed that time period so much, we're actually going to Upper Canada Village. We already had it planned, but I think like finishing the book kind of both made us want to like travel back in time. And yeah, so I'm gonna go try and experience a little bit of Unrest IRL, but the more glamorous side, because I will have air conditioning and a cell phone. But that's the end of this vlog. I appreciate you joining me. I hope you enjoyed. This spanned like a huge amount of time in my life, but I'm trying not to put pressure since this is just a hobby. So I want to enjoy the content that I'm making. But I will see you next time, where I'm going to be reading the Jane Austen Society. Goodbye.